So much to talk about in so little time. Today is March 24th, 2024. So, just a few questions I want to ask you. Do you think that any nation or any group of people that claim inheritance rights to a certain landmass, a certain part of the world, do you think that they have the right to step in and kick out the inhabitants of that landmass and claim territorial rights with impunity? Do you think they have that right? Second question: do you think that a nation or a country that has those claims on a territory and invokes religious precedent, it invokes a religious right to that property, do you think that they should have a seat in the United Nations and be signatories to humanitarian law, etc., etc.? So that takes us to a different paradigm altogether, because if we live in a world where anybody can claim sovereignty over a territory because of inheritance rights, for example, if the American Indians were all of a sudden to say, we want our lands back and we're going to make sure we get them by hook or by crook, we're gonna do it. We're gonna exterminate the rest of you out there and get our lands back. Do you think that is a viable solution for a territory? Now, there's so many other things we could talk about here. Even if these Israelis slash Zionists are to claim hereditary rights because of what the Bible says about God giving Abraham the promise to the land through Isaac, etc. Isaac didn't just have, one or two offspring. He had Jacob, he had Esau. Esau had his posterity. So if you were to include all of Abraham's posterity, then you end up looking at a landmass that goes from the Euphrates all the way to the Nile, to the Mediterranean Sea, and up to Lebanon, the border of Lebanon, that is, not Lebanon inclusive. And the promise seems to have been fulfilled, because all these different nations now that are occupying this landmass from the Euphrates to the Mediterranean are, technically speaking, the descendants of Abraham and Isaac. Let's dismiss Ishmael, okay, who was the offspring of Hagar and to whom an angel spoke, and to whom the Lord promised he would be a mighty nation also. He has a right to have a nation also, Ishmael. All right? So let's not even include Keturah. Keturah happened to be Abraham's second wife after Sarah passed away. And she had offspring from Abraham too. So we have all this genealogy that is spread out across the Middle East. And they have a right to these lands. It's not just the Jews, it's not just the Levites, and it's certainly not, just the lineage of Isaac. Why is it, the other question I have is, if you're going to be so specific about your inheritance rights, why don't you also invoke the name of Joseph? Invoke the name of all the other tribes. Why don't you just lay it all out instead of just focusing us, the Jews, us, the Jews? We have a right to it and nobody else. And then you slip in there, you may mention the Levites, right? But you never mention all the other tribes. So it's a bit of a, you know, gotcha question because you're not being truthful. You're not being truthful. The way Israel has played out its hand now, it became a signatory to the United Nations um, Convention, and it has been in all the different um, resolution meetings, proposal meetings. It has claimed to be a state, but yet at the same time, it has defied convention. It has committed crimes against humanity with impunity. Okay? And now we have the United States that is feigning sympathy and empathy for the Palestinians after all the damage is done. It's a little bit too little too late. The United States and the UK has funded and armed Israel and has just played along this kabuki theater while the Palestinians were being destroyed. So they are complicit. They are aiding and abetting in crimes against humanity. And their theater must also come to an end. This play is over. Done.